man, we've got a powerful show for you. My world-famous producer, Mallory Bardwell, pushing the buttons, turning the knobs, and, of course, your host, Carl Gallups. Thank you. Give us the next 2 hours. We're going to rock your world. Listen, we've got a great lineup for you this afternoon. You don't want to miss a moment of the show. My first guest this afternoon is a good friend of mine and brother in the Lord, Joel Richardson. Joel has been on my program before, and a lot of you know him because you have his books or some of his books and documentaries. His website is joelstrumpet.com, joelstrumpet.com. But he is a New York Times #1 best-selling author. The Mideast Beast, The Islamic Antichrist. Some of you have heard of those books. He's got a brand new documentary out. By the way, he's produced other documentaries and written some other books and or edited and co-authored other books, and we'll tell you about them in a moment. But he's got a brand new movie out. I got it in the mail. Joel, you can order it now, but has it gone out yet? Is it being shipped yet?
If you go to my website at joelstrumpet.com, I do have some. I believe if you order it through Amazon or WorldNet Daily, it will go out real soon. Okay. But I do have some myself.
Oh, okay, good. But I'm just saying because, I got my copy in the mail, and that's because, I've got contacts, man. I mean, I know who you are. And I got, yeah, man. And I got mine. I slapped that thing in today, sat down to watch it, and brother, in the first 5 minutes, it grabbed me. And that hour-long documentary movie went by in 10 minutes, it seemed like. My jaw was on the ground. Joel, that is it is the best presentation of those biblical truths that you laid out. 8 of them, I think, right? 8 end times eyewitness signs, etc.
Right, I've got 8 primary signs that I'm focusing on. Of course, we could probably do 8 more, but
yeah.
That's what I'll have room for.
Yeah, the film footage, astounding. You were in the Middle East during some of the Arab Spring in Egypt and Turkey. You've interviewed Middle Eastern personalities, Muslims, imams, Christian pastors over in the Middle East, Messianic Jews. Brother, the film footage is astounding. Your Bible teaching is amazing. Tying the scriptures to what's happening right now around the world, and particularly in the Middle East, was absolutely superb. Joel, I don't have the adjectives to describe this movie, but I was spellbound. My church is going to see it, and I'm going to be soon one of your biggest marketing assets, if God will give me that ability. I'm really going to promote and push this. It's amazing, folks. It's called End Times Eyewitness. End Times Eyewitness. Joel Richardson, New York Times bestselling author of The Islamic Antichrist. He wrote it and directed it. It's produced by W&D Films and produced by George Escobar, and Joel Richardson helped produce it. A whole cast of characters that are in it, people that he interviewed. I'll let him tell you about that in a moment. Again, it's called End Times Eyewitness, and the subtitle is Israel, Islam, and the Unfolding Signs of Messiah's Return. Joel, welcome to Freedom Friday. I'm going to hush now and just let you tell people everything you want them to know about you and the movie, because this movie is astounding, and I can't do it justice, but I'm going to do my best very soon, because I'm going to tell everybody I know about it.
Well, Carl, thanks so much. I sure appreciate the vote of confidence and for having me on. Appreciate our friendship and your passion as well. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Well, yeah, essentially the purpose of the film was to look at the testimony of the biblical prophets in light of the new Middle East after the Arab Spring began January 2011. And this is really something completely new. I was asked a week or so ago, somebody said, well, hasn't the Middle East always been unstable? I mean, isn't this just what we've always experienced? And I said, absolutely not.
No.
The past 80-plus years, the Middle East has been pretty much dominated by various third-rate military dictators, Western puppets, and we've had, the breakup of the Middle East according to the colonizing Western powers, Britain and France.
Right.
And really, what we're seeing right now is the retreat from the Middle East by the Western powers, by the United States, and the vacuum that's created is completely transforming. The Middle East is essentially turning back to some of the structures that it existed under in the past, and this has tremendous implications with regard to biblical prophecy. Of course, everyone's familiar with ISIS, what's happened in Syria and Iraq. This is unparalleled. This is completely uncharted territory, and I believe I'm sure you do as well, Carl, this has profound implications with regard to the signs of the return of Jesus.
Yes.
And so really this is all the film was. It was an attempt to simply look at what's taking place in the heart of the biblical world in light of biblical prophecy. We're not looking at any real, nothing esoteric, no secret codes or, any calculations. This is just really straightforward. Any mainstream Christian can look at it and realize that these things are coming to pass.
Right. And that's what I really, there's so many things I enjoyed about the movie. The graphics were stunning because all of this film footage, I mean, as most of it, you were on the scene live with your crew and so it's stunning film footage. But what I really enjoyed was the cast of expert characters that you had in this. I mean, Jonathan Cahn's in it and so many other people. But you guys were tying events that are happening right now to the Scriptures in a very contextual manner, and helping. I think even the people that don't understand these things as deeply as you do, I still think that people will get this movie. I mean, from beginning to end. You guys did a superb job, I thought, in tying it together and making it understandable. So anybody that's interested in end times prophetic events, and we all should be because we're living in unparalleled prophetic days, I think they will get this movie. I think they will understand it, and that's what I really enjoyed about it.
It's a blessing because it was quite the making the film was sort of my mini Great Tribulation. It's been quite a challenge, from everything from budget to production to just all of the details. There's been a lot of warfare around it.
I know,
and it was a good learning experience. And I'll tell you, I shouldn't be promoting anything far out, but the second part of the film will be released next year.
Wow.
And in that film, we have a lot more of the leaders from the Middle East. This film, of course, as you mentioned, has a lot Muslims, rabbis, Jews, Christians, Messianic leaders from the Middle East. The next film is much more Middle Eastern focused, so I'm really looking forward to that one as well.
Right. Me too. I didn't know you had another one. No, you've shared with me some of your trials and tribulations, and I appreciate your confidence in me with that. And I know, and looking at the movie, I could tell. I mean, with the taste I had in making the Rabbi Who Found Messiah movie, I understand the complexity of putting these kinds of documentaries together. And yours, my friend, would be extremely complex, I would think, because of all of the places you had to go, the film footage you had to get, all the interviews you had to do, the narrative to sew it together from beginning to end where it flowed smoothly. But I'm telling you, you guys did a superb job, Joel.
Thanks so much, Carl. I sure appreciate it.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying it as kind of a neutral observer. I say kind of because you and I are friends, but I had not seen the movie. I knew about it, and I sat down today to watch it, not knowing, I mean, I knew it would be good, but I'm telling you, brother, my jaw was on the ground now when it was finished, and that's a good documentary you've put together. Well, listen, we're going to take a break in about 3 or 4 minutes, but in these next 3 or 4 minutes, let's start this conversation, Joel. Give my audience a quick primer on the understanding of the Islamic view of end times, particularly the Mahdi. Let's start there, and then we'll move into what their view is of Jesus Christ. We'll probably get into that after the break. But let's just start with, because a lot of people who listen, who know the Bible and who are Christians, they're going to be pretty blown away by the Islamic understanding of the end times.
Sure. Yeah, well, 11 years ago, I wrote my first book, Islamic Antichrist, where I'm trying to make Christians understand what Muslims believe with regard to the end times, with regard to their primary Messiah figure known as the Mahdi, with regard to what they believe concerning the return of Jesus. I show that their understanding is that their vision is very similar to what we see with regard to the Antichrist and the false prophet. Now, it's one thing, Carl, when I write about these things and people say, well, I don't know if I believe Joel Richardson or not. What I did is I sat down with Muslim leaders from Turkey and from the West Bank. Sheikh Ikrimah Said Sabri is the president of Quranic and Islamic Studies. He's a scholar, Islamic scholar who lives up on the Mount of Olives, the university up there. And really just got it from the horse's mouth. It's a lot different when you see a Muslim explaining these things or different Muslim leaders explaining these things and saying, wow, what they're describing is exactly like our Antichrist. And so that was the purpose of that part of the film, was to, again, help the Christian reader realize that, you know, what's rumbling in the Islamic world is exactly the fulfillment of what we're expecting with regard to the man of lawlessness, the man of sin, as he's called. And, you know, the expectations are swarming throughout the Islamic world for this individual to come forward.
Right. And many Muslim leaders believe that this individual is in the world now and very soon to appear on the world scene. And we're not really talking about the ultimate Antichrist yet. We're talking about this man, this Islamic man, who will kind of begin bringing the Muslim world together as well as other faiths together around Islam. And they believe that that's getting ready to happen very soon, correct?
Yeah, it's amazing how much these things are influencing the Islamic world, you know, in Syria right now. A lot of people don't realize that so many of the fighters that are going to Syria are doing so specifically because they believe that this is one of the final prophesied Islamic battles. They believe we're in the final stretch, far more than Christians believe we're in the end times. The Muslims believe it.
I know.
And it's driving them to take some, you know, radical steps. So it's all or nothing at this point, and that's why they're willing to leave everything behind for the jihad. And it's, you know, Islamic apocalyptic belief is driving much of the Islamic State right now.
Absolutely. And you know, well, anyway, we've run out of time. I had some more commentary there on what you just said. You and I really need a couple of hours, Joel, to talk about this. Let's take a quick time out. When we come back, more from Joel. He's a New York Times bestselling author, #1 bestselling author, Mideast Beast, Islamic Antichrist. Just has a brand new documentary movie out. I watched it today. Got an early copy in the mail. Sat down to watch it. It's an hour long, just riveting, glued to my seat, mouth on the floor, my jaw on the floor when it was over. It's called End Times Eyewitness. Now, I've known Joel for years. He's a tremendous writer. He's a tremendous teacher, preacher, conference leader. He's been all over TV and radio, and not only major Christian TV and radio, but also mainstream. Glenn Beck Show, Mike Huckabee Show, Gordon Liddy, Dennis Miller, et cetera, et cetera. And he's done a lot of writing for these folks, and et cetera. But that's Joel Richardson. But I'm telling you, folks, you've got to see this movie, End Times Eyewitness. It is absolutely stunning. So, Joel, tell the audience. So you've got a lot of film footage. You were there in the Middle East when a lot of this stuff was breaking loose. Tell folks about that experience, and then segue from that, if you would, into the Islamic understanding of Jesus Christ, we call him. But the Muslims have a very distinctive understanding of Jesus, and it ties right into what we would consider biblical eschatology. So tell folks about you being there, the footage you got, and then segue into the Muslim understanding of Jesus, and I'll hush and let you talk.
All right. Well, we were in Egypt, we were in Jordan, Israel, obviously the West Bank, Turkey, and then out through the Balkans on the way out. We were planning on going into Iran, but it happened that our trip was scheduled the week of the presidential elections. Last minute, our visas were denied, so we ended up spending some extra time in Turkey, which turned out to be providential because about a week before we left, riots were breaking out all across Turkey. And so everyone was asking, could this be the Turkish Spring? Has the Arab Spring finally reached Turkey? And it was mostly more of the younger secularists, the Kurds, communists that were upset with the growing Islamist government. And the heart of the protests was in the middle of Istanbul, Taksim Square, sort of the Tahrir Square, if you will, that's in Cairo, of Turkey. And so as we arrived, as we got to Istanbul, we went directly to the square. Of course, it's kind of a documentarian dream that riots are breaking out. It's not our wife's dream as we're leaving into it, but so we got there, and as we got there during the day, it was fairly peaceful. But as we got toward evening, the protesters really started getting riled up, forming a line. Of course, the entire square, there was probably 5,000 to 10,000 people, with probably another 1,000, 2,000 riot police surrounding the entire square and neighborhood. There was a certain point where really, Carl, just all hell broke cut loose with the water cannons. Well, what some people have probably seen the Turkish water cannons on TV. What they don't tell you is that these water cannons, which of course can pick up a full-grown man and throw you across the street, is that they're putting chemicals into the cannon. So this is a sticky tear gas substance. They just mist the air, and you're immediately coughing and choking from 100 yards away within seconds. It's really strong.
Wow.
A few hundred people have gone blind just from getting that stuff in their eyes or on their skin. It burns. So, suddenly this happens. There's just stampedes. I went back on Russian news, and I had this bright yellow shirt on. I found myself in the crowd as everyone's just running. As we were making our way out of the square, the percussion grenades, the tear gas, the smoke grenades are, going off. We lost one of our guys. And I thought if we just could make our way out of the square down one of these streets to fresh air. Of course, we're already hit with tear gas. We had no masks or anything because we weren't prepared. I thought if we could just get to fresh air, we would make it. But as we're, really reaching sort of the breaking point, I looked up, and at the end of the street, the riot police had the road blockaded off. They started shooting tear gas grenades at us. And I thought, well, we're in the hospital, and literally at that moment, we were basically pushed into a revolving door going into a hotel. Wow. That was just next to us. I didn't even see it. We basically just got pushed, almost carried in.
Yeah.
Got our first breath of fresh air in several minutes, and we kind of went upstairs and hid out, got on Twitter and started trying to track what was going on. It was a chaotic night. I mean, we were right in the heart of that. We've got some tremendous footage.
Yeah.
We were also in Egypt a week before the second revolution, the largest protest in human history. We were there just a few days before that one broke out. Probably a good thing that we weren't there for that.
Right.
But it was the Lord was guiding the timing of the whole thing.
Sure.
And again, we all made it out safe and sound. But it was some good footage, and it was a historical moment that we were able to be there for that. So it was actually a blessing.
It was a prophetic moment. It was a biblical moment, and historical moment in that what's happening in the Middle East has never happened in human history, never happened in history, and you were in the middle of it, capturing it on film. Now you've got it in documentary version with you and many other great speakers and teachers explaining this stuff, and I'm telling you, it's riveting. Folks, we're talking about this new documentary, End Times Eyewitness, written and directed by Joel Richardson, produced by WND Films. Absolutely amazing. The subtitle is Israel, Islam, and the Unfolding Signs of Messiah's Return. Go to Amazon.com, go to joelstrumpet.com, check it out, get it, order it. You've got to see this. You've got to show it to your churches and your families. Joel, we've only got a minute and a half. Very quickly, tell folks a little bit about what the Muslims believe about Jesus.
Essentially, Muslims believe that at the end of the age, Jesus returns. He tells all the Christians of the world that we've been deceived, that our scriptures have been corrupted, they've been changed, we've lost what they originally were, that he never claimed to be the Son of God, he never died on a cross, that he is simply a prophet in a long line of prophets, that Islam is the only true religion, that Christians need to become Muslims, and they need to submit to the Islamic Messiah figure known as the Mahdi.
Right.
And he will essentially be an assistant to the Mahdi, causing Islam to be the supreme religion throughout the earth. So this is the Jesus that Muslims are awaiting. It's a Muslim Jesus. He comes back to essentially abolish Christianity and then ultimately to kill Jews, which is sort of just a sidebar. So really he does many of the things that either the biblical Antichrist or the biblical false prophet teaches that these individuals would carry out.
Absolutely. And your movie explains, well, you just did a beautiful 1-minute explanation, but the movie, folks, goes into great detail that explains it even more profoundly than that. It is amazing. Folks, you've got to get this movie, this documentary,